This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages. Right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Bad Movie Club. Movies so horrendous. They're made manifest. This is not one of those. We're still on our Kevin Smith kick. Salutations, I am Cameron. I apologize. I've got feels like twice the lighting, so I'm twice as blind. So I'm just gonna stare in this general direction and hope it all comes out right. I should probably pull up show notes, not that I can read them. I'm just gonna watch this monitor fall off the desk. Life's crazy. So Zack and Miri Make a Porno. So I do like to point this movie out. This is actually something that belongs in Bad Movie Club. Not because it's a bad movie, or it's not enjoyable, or it's a technical failure. If anything, it's a marketing failure. I think this movie really is a not great movie. It's a good movie that's pretty funny, but because of the word porno, bing. Oh, I missed. Go this way. It's so weird to get that word right there. Hell, this video is probably going to get flagged for having the word porno in the title. Though, I could probably fight that. Whatever. I'm already not allowed to live stream to YouTube right now, so YouTube. No, seriously though, Zack and Miri Make a Porno. It was because Disney, who controls like half the media at this point, a third then, wouldn't touch it because of the word porno in it. I think in some places it got shortened to porn instead of porno. I think in some places it got switched to adult film. A lot of places just shortened it to Zack and Miri. But Zack and Miri isn't the memorable part of the title, so like the fact that the memorable part of the title got dropped meant that anybody going and looking for it couldn't find it. So it was like a really sad moment because it was a cool moment for Kevin Smith. He finally got to work with Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks, and actually make a movie that wasn't a Jay and Silent Bob movie, and kind of jump into the real world of movies. And I say that lovingly, because by all means, it still has Jason Mewes in it. It's still a Kevin Smith film. So I don't know if it reaches that gap, but I feel like he felt that this was gonna be the movie where he'd go, people will take me seriously now. And I think he's since stopped caring about that, which is fine, because he shouldn't care about that. He should be worried about making the art that he wants to make. Now, obviously, that's where he's at, with his next movie being Moose Jaws. So let's not talk about Moose Jaws, though. Let's talk about Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Again, so Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks being the main characters. Obviously, they're Zack and Miri, respectively. You can see some of the cast there in that picture. They're all pretty great supporting actors and actresses. Elizabeth Banks, of course, has done Hunger Games and all this stuff. Seth Rogen's got his own little Adam Sandler crew. I don't know what he would call his, but it's essentially like a Canadian version of Happy Madison. Including James, not Vanderbeek, Franco. Excuse me. I don't know what it is. Once I get to talking, my lungs don't want to deal with it anymore. It's been happening for like a week now. So we open on this little snowy town. It's a really cute looking scene. Kevin Smith still knows how to frame a picture, or his DP does anyways. So like you still get some good looks on it. Of course, as is memorable for the movie itself and everything, you have this nice, quiet, peaceful looking thing, and all of a sudden a car accident happens. So we go into this house. Seth Rogen or Zack and Miri are living together. They live in separate rooms, but they're obviously comfortable enough with each other that Miri's actually waking Zack up. Zack walks in on her in the bathroom, and there's this whole argument that obviously happens all the time about the door being closed or closed over or whatever. So it's the dynamics immediately set the pace of the movie as far as these characters being friends that maybe will they won't they type of trope is set and established. They get in the car to leave. Who the fuck knows where she goes? It's never established that she actually works. It is established that she pays half the rent, or the rent every other month, whatever you want to call it. But we see his place of work, which is a coffee shop, as he is a barista. That's not how you say it, and that's fine. But we see that they're in this clunker car. It's fucking middle of winter. It's freezing. And she's got like some hand warmer. He steals it and sticks it down his pants. And she's just like, yeah, this is life. So again, it's a lot of establishing. It's a lot of setting pace. And of course, he burns his balls or whatever, and she has to stop the car so he can get out and drop it out of his pants. And she just laughs at him because, again, part of her life. Moving on. And I feel bad. I'm actually going to look him up because this guy is pretty funny. He was in, like, Rapture Palooza. He's in some other movies. In fact, yep. Craig Robinson. Craig Robinson is a funny fucking dude. He's a great physical actor. He's been in a few things. Apparently, he's been in a couple things with Anna Kendrick. Elsewhere, that needs to go on my watch list. That looks really good. And just from the thing, what's that one? That looks like Aubrey Plaza. It is Life with After Beth. Oh, okay. So he's done a few things. He's been around, but he likes hanging out in this around Seth Rogen too. So yay! For those who can't figure it out, he's the big black guy. And it's not like I'm the one that brought it up. He mentions it a few times in the movie. That's where humor tends to go with that. And I don't know if Kevin wrote that or if he co-wrote with Seth and Craig or what. I don't understand that process when like it becomes someone like multiple writers in on a thing, or like an actor who is a writer there. But we do know from Cop Out that Kevin is enough of a little bitch. His words, not mine. That like he wants to make people happy. So he's willing to compromise, however slightly, to make that happen. And that's a good quality. It's just not in the extremes. Let's see. So they're talking about having to work on Thanksgiving or Black Friday, etc., etc. And the conversations are developing outright about Zack and Miri, about how they're just friends. Establishing the relationship between Craig Robinson's character and Seth Rogen's character. Their boss talks about putting a camera on him so that he can see what the fuck they do, I tell you. He's that guy. If you've seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, you know who the fuck I'm talking about. So, at the coffee shop, there's a horrible, she's got a nice ass. The kid's spying on her is kind of what I meant. I don't know why my brain went to like, oh, I just insulted her. No, but the horrible little scene with like, I don't know why Seth Rogen's looking at sex toys on her laptop while she changes in the back. She's trying to outfits for the high school reunion. So again, another establishing scene talking about the like a little or the act. I don't know if it's Act 2 or what, but at least the end of Act 1 for this high school reunion. A lot of places and a lot of movies, the high school reunion would be the Act 3. It's like you got to go there and show them up and triumph, but this is not those movies. This is, fuck, our life sucks. Let's do this and get it over with. So that's basically the attitude they roll in there with. Though Miri quite has some hopes of banging a dude. So there's that. But they film it and they put it on YouTube or whatever. And of course, Zack goes to his defense because he legitimately cares for Mary by mooning the kids to ruin their little pervy video, and it makes comedy gold. So Granny Panties becomes the new viral video along with my big gay ass, which you could see as a bad thing, but if you pay attention to the movie, it kind of lauds it a little bit. Laud meaning praise. Sorry. People aren't used to that word. So, they get home, the water gets shut off, and to the point where she has to... Sorry, it's a gross part of the movie. She has to wash her hair with the toilet water. Not that toilet, but the tank, at least. Because he literally looks in the bowl and goes, "There's poo in there." Man, that's not my type of humor. I don't do that. Okay. So, of course, we get to the high school reunion. And again, this would normally be like the third act, but this is still the first act. We're not even really like into the third act yet. And as there's no real villain in this movie, it's a person versus environment type of thing. It's, we have this situation. How do we deal with it? How do we solve it? How do we overcome? So they go to the high school reunion. She wants to bang this dude, Bobby Long or whatever, who's like the smart, sexy guy. He's the same guy. He played Superman. He's the Atom on DC Legends of Tomorrow. Nice enough guy, sure. Of course, he's gay with Justin Long's character, which I thought was funny that Bobby Long had his counter, or the person he's acting across, his last name in real life. I just thought it was a funny coincidence. It makes me laugh even right now. So she's hitting on him hard, like, and that's starting out with, like, she goes to get a drink. He's like, "Oh, I've got a beer right here." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." And she tries to drink it, but there's a cigarette butt or something in there. And because he's just holding the drink to make it look like he's drinking when he's not. So maybe a foreshadowing of mixed signals or whatnot. There's a lot of good, subtle foreshadowing in this. And I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do with foreshadowing, but I like it. Because if you're paying attention, then you're like, oh, there's something up with that. Or at least by the time you get to the other thing, you'll be like, oh, that's got to be what they were referencing before. And maybe he was just trying to be funny. I don't know. I give Kevin credit when I think he deserves it. So, of course, Zach's just there to have a miserable time, so he's just hitting on everybody. Like, he offers to bang Kevin Smith's wife, Jennifer Schwalbach's character, like, right out the bat. Like, she literally just put stickers on their chests, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've changed your mind, let me know." And he finally finds someone that he can stand, and she's all obsessed about a husband who's over there flirting with some tramp. The tramp. He's like, and she's like, "Oh, why would I want to flirt with you and get even? I want to one up the bastard." And so, like, she jerks him off in the girls' locker room or some shit. I don't know what she gets out of that. Maybe it's just something she can throw in his face later. That's not the right way to go, unless that's just a game they play, in which case maybe, like, bitching about it is a way to cover it. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Find the agreement. If that's the game you play, great, but agree on the game. Because, well, I mean, what did Zach care? He's all benefit. He's not breaking anything there. Though in most movies, he probably would have got beat up at some point. It's like, you did what to my wife's hand? Blah blah blah. Yeah, you were busy talking up the cheerleader. Which, I don't know. There's limits to that, but it's fine. Let's see. So we skip that. Oh, yeah, so, of course, Bobby Long is gay as hell with Justin Long's character, Brandon. Yeah, that's right. So, like, there's this whole fascinating discussion of, like, while Zach is... I don't know if he's supposed to be the everyman for the entire movie. He's supposed to be the every entrepreneur, but, like, during the high school reunion, he's supposed to be the everyman. So he's, like, discovering gaiety, if you will, and, like, what it's like. Because he's like, it's like they're real people. And he's just watching reality TV happen in front of him as they have, like, a dramatic fight or whatever between the two of them. And he's just like, wow, I really learned something. He walks away because he knows he's not involved in it. So it's to me, I feel like that's like a little shout out to his brother that Kevin put in there to kind of be like, okay, this is how people should act when they see gay in front of their face or whatnot. And great, whatever, love each other. It's honestly, okay, it's a weird time for a PSA, but with all the problems going on in the world, focusing on people who are getting along seems like the wrong way to go. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Oh yeah, so yeah, Brandon, who's actually a famous porn star or whatever, actually recognizes her, and they all take a selfie together to celebrate. And I think she says something like, "I'm gonna drink till I'm passed out." Of course, Zach's supposedly on his way there. They're home, they're hungover almost, or drunk or whatever, and the power gets shut off. So they leave and go to a bar because that's what you do when you need to go somewhere in the middle of the night, I guess. I don't know, Waffle House or something. It's kind of like my instinct. But in that scenario, who knows? So the conversation kind of turns towards like, oh, we're in the kind of situation where people end up making porn. And don't knock that industry. Those people work hard and they do things that you're not willing to do. So don't knock it. Just the fact of it. Okay, I gotta stop doing that. Okay. So they go back to the coffee house. I mean, that conversation continues through a few scenes or whatever. Who cares? So there's something I wanted to talk about here. So there's like a line where like, and it's shown in movies and such as women doing it. And I've seen guys do it in real life, which is super fucked up. And not this exact thing, but it's Miri accuses Zach of like inventing this scenario just to fuck her. And again, the way that subtle foreshadowing seems to work in this movie, it seems to be about that, like that aspect that she does like him, so she wants him to want to fuck her, even though she can't admit that she likes him. And there's some seeming of self-worth in that, that someone she loves so much doesn't want to fuck her, so what good is she when he wants to fuck everything else? It's a mentality where people go and, like, again, seen on both sides, stereotypically in women in movies and whatnot, but also stereotypically this leans on the stereotypical behaviors of male and female sex habits, where like men are so disgusting and desperate that they want to bang anything, so they go this far to do it, where it's really more of a stereotypical female thing to manipulate the situation into a scenario where like they get what they want, which usually isn't sex, for movies and whatnot. Yeah, there's people outside sometimes, buddy. It's okay. Cat's like super concerned. So, and I like the idea that it leans on them being more romantically connected than like it about being like how we're animals and we want to fuck. Just me. I'm the pragmatist, but occasionally there's niceties in the other. So they go home. They end up having a hobo fire drum. No idea where they got the fire drum. I know it's just a water barrel with the top off, but still. So, and they finally conclude that they really don't have a better choice. They're going to figure out how to make porn. And in today's age, it's like, all you need is this. You just need something with that. And you can do it. It may not be the best thing in the world, but you can still do it. And if you got a cameraman to actually run it while you're performing whatever it is you're doing, whether it be adult stuff or not, you can pretty much make it happen. You just gotta find someone who's willing to help you, and you're pretty much good to go. So they end up going to the mall on Black Friday. They stop, which I don't know if you've ever been to a mall on Black Friday. That is not what it looks like. But they stop Craig Robinson from getting his flat screen TV. Like, he sells him on the idea of like being able to put a flat screen TV in his bathroom. He's like, I love to watch shit when I shit. It's the American dream. And sure. So they end up getting his storage space, and like the guy fucks him over, but it's like, if you pick up the poop, it's yours. And they didn't get it for free. I put in my notes that I gotta change that. But they did rent it. Rent it. Oh, you know what? Maybe they did get it for free, because he said it's yours if you clean it. So who knows? They get the hockey game. Like, I don't know why it's such a thing, but like Seth Rogen, of course, looking through the hockey game, and the goalie goes nuts. Turns out it's Randall from Clerks, who's actually a decent actor. Jeff Anderson, I think, is his name. That sounds right. I've seen him in a couple other things where he wasn't Kevin Smithed up, and he's still good. But so we get them as a camera guy. He notes his skills as wanting to bang cheerleaders. So they go through auditions, and it made me laugh so hard. I have no idea why it's such a thing, but like Kirk Ferguson's character was kind of focused on being able to audition the titties, is essentially what he said. So they go through casting or whatnot, and I don't know how he didn't. Oh no, he hired. That's right, he picked Bubbles. But he's like super nervous, and like it doesn't seem like we get a lot out of it other than he got to see some titties. But just having titty auditions on a door and like was fucking hilarious. And of course the first girl where he's like, I'm the producer, I gotta see him, so I'm so sorry, but I'm married, so nothing's gonna happen, but I gotta see your titties. And she just rips her dress off, or not rips her dress off, but she lifts it up and over like, yeah, I'm an adult actress, this is what we do. And that's the truth of it. It's like you gotta have a certain level of comfort. It doesn't mean like you have to be on display all the time. But I mean, yeah, get a girl or a guy or whoever a robe when they're cold. But I mean, I gotta see this, I gotta see that, I gotta see what it looks like when you do that. Regardless of being themes for a certain type of adult movie, it's reality. It's like you gotta see them do it. It's like you're hiring a stuntman, I gotta see you do a stunt. I gotta see your fight work. I gotta see how you move. If you roll up in a wheelchair, you may or may not get the stunt roll when it calls for kicking. But you're probably gonna go driving gig. Because that can happen, you ableists. Sorry. Working my new words in. So titty auditions, title suggestions, looking right into a light, my eyes hurt. They finally come up with the name of Star Whores. Which I'm surprised it's not like a real thing. Like he had to have gone through the measure of finding one that didn't exist like that. And he comes up with some titles in the movie that don't exist, as far as I know, that may or may not have existed since the movie became. I'm sorry, that didn't exist at the time is what I meant. So they finally get through. They do all this costume work. They finally get everybody auditioned. They hire Barry and Bubbles and Stacy and Jason Mewes' character, Lester the Molester. Sorry, it's a funny fucking scene. They're like, oh, that's a great porn name. He's like, oh, we get to pick porn names? I want to be Steve. So funny. So the studio ends up getting torn down because it's in a building that was getting demolished or whatever. So all their equipment and shit's in there. And I'm sorry, but I would have ran in or in front of the machine or whatever and been like, fuck you, stop. Go get the stuff while I stand here. And he would have been able to pull out maybe the camera at least, because I'm sure at the time, that was an expensive ass camera. The costumes and stuff would have been great. You can lose a sound stage. You can get another sound stage, but all the work and money that you put into the equipment, the logistics are not fun for movies. Ask Scott Mosher. So let's see. They go to the coffee house, and like it's really hard to pick out like little things from here because it's a lot of physical humor, setting up scenes. Like Zach's just back at work. They're all sad at the coffee house. He's like, "We'll do it right here," because you use what you can to get whatever you need to do done. So they film porn. It's like that's the lead up in the third act up to the climax is. Like, they've just went through a massive tragedy. They're building up to the climax. I see what you did. And so they decide they're going to film the coffee house. So there's a lot of filming fuckies, if you will. My favorite is that the guy from Deadbeat, that drunk, or that he plays such idiot characters. I know he's not necessarily an idiot in real life, but like that's my experience of him, is that he's a moron that plays himself. It's not true. It plays himself as these characters. It's just not true. But he has one of the best lines ever, where he's like, "It's a game. This great game is quarterback of the ball. Fuck it, chuck it, football." And so I do say "fuck it, chuck it, football" when it's just kind of like a whatever situation. So this movie has had an effect on me, sad as it may or may not be. So they only stop shooting because like the daylight happens. And then Zack has to go on shift after shooting, and it seems like he's just up for 48 hours. Like he shoots at night, he gets back on shift, and then they shoot again, and then he's back on shift again. Like the timetable of when Zack sleeps doesn't seem to make sense to me. So like imagine that he's doing all this in a fever dream as well, because he can't resolve it. So they get most of the filming done like the first night or two or whatever, but like whenever the big night is, it's supposed to be when Zack and Miri finally bang for the first time. And it's this like real kind of romantic, boring looking sex or whatever. Because real sex is not porn sex, so they tell me. And what I mean by that is that real sex may not look good on camera, like with the stuff they do in movies or whatever to show you like this or whatever, like that's for the camera angle. In real life, it feels better if you just square up and then you hit where you need to hit. You don't do any of that. It's ridiculous. So Zack and Miri, who don't have this mentality for porn or whatever, just are finding someone that they really like in an intimate situation, and they're so nervous they just kind of fall into it. And of course, to them, it's this magic moment, and everyone else is like, "It's fucking over? What? That's it? I thought he was supposed to on her titties. No, what? Nah." So who knows? But I mean, it's so fun. There's a nice little moment like somewhat afterwards. Oh no, that was the night before. I don't know. Sorry, there is a nice moment somewhere in the movie where she falls asleep in the back of a store she doesn't work in on coffee beans, which I cannot imagine being comfortable. And he puts his jacket on her, and it's supposed to be another subtle foreshadowing of like, hey, he does like her. So what's gonna happen? So obviously when they start banging and they have that weirdness about it, it now becomes weird because they discuss that they don't have these feelings, that they're just going to talk to their privates. They're going to be like, hey, this is business, get it done. And then they do the business, and it's so much more because they have those feelings for each other. It's kind of a weird romance thing of like trying to trick people into waiting, because when you're, and it's true, when you are with someone that you care about, it is much more. But you know, like, hey, have sex, it's fine. Just be responsible about it. God, just imagine the phone call I get from someone's parent. It's like, no, I said be responsible. She's wrong. So it ends up being awkward during the moment for them, and then that awkwardness spreads to Zack and Miri later because they're not resolving these feelings that they obviously have for each other. And then Stacy, who does everything right. She talks to Miri first. She talks to Zack. Everyone seems okay with it. So she tries to bang her because she wants that romanticism as a stripper and porn star. They probably don't get that a lot. Now, they may not want that either, because, like, as far as I know, like, sometimes that's nice, and you find that in places you may or may not consider, and then occasionally you need things amped up from whatever. And when porn stars fuck for a living, that's been the general word. It's like, you need to know how to fuck, and then do all the nice stuff too, because sometimes you come home from work sore from work at a cash register. Just imagine when you're bent over one. Like I said, they're people too. They work hard. Yeah, so at the party, even though Stacy does everything right, Miri's obviously not okay with shit. So she throws that and every other girl he slept with in his face, which is really, when you like someone, that's the way to do it, is to attack them instead of talking about it. Especially when he's like, he's actively trying to like talk to her about how they feel, and she's just like, no, I'm pissed. You fucked it, bitch. I'm gonna tear it off. It's just so funny that like she'd go that way. But I've seen stuff like that happen in real life. Again, both sides. But if I mean Zach's out of options, and he does probably the most reasonable and the most ridiculous thing all in one is he storms out. And not only that, oh yeah, it's this worst scene in the movie. You know what? I'm not even gonna talk about it. I'm not even talk about that part. With we're skipping it because I'm not coughing all over the place because I'm gagging. But at home, Zach actually moves out, which is impressive because they had like nothing as it was. I think the cast and crew pulled together to pay like a month of each of their bills or whatever just to get shit turned back on. Delaney, that's the guy's name. That's Craig Robinson's character is Delaney. I don't know why it took me so long. I never feel like they say people's names in movies, or they should. I always feel like it's about halfway through the movie and I'll be like, oh, that's Betty. And the title of the movie is Betty and Veronica, so like you'd think that'd come up sooner. This movie. So, Zach gets a new job as the mascot that you shoot paintballs at. And the same kids who shot the video show up and fuck with him, because why not? And then Delaney comes up on him and is like, "Hey, I need you to come back with me. Look, if whatever's whatever, but you need to come see this, and then after that, we'll call it square." So he shows them that like they never finished the movie, which I think everyone would be a little bit more pissed about, honestly, than they actually are. Because who knows what happened to everybody. I mean, the only one that we can keep track of is Delaney and the camera guy, who's actually moved to editing, which is still good. So, like, not only do we have Delaney's, like, angry wife, yelling about these white boys in her house, that's fun, but, like, so Zach realizes that he's got to go back and talk to Miri, and then he goes back and, like, Lester's in a room, and he's naked, and Miri's in the bathroom. As far as I can tell, she's taking a shit. She is taking a poo that whole time, because that's got to be why it takes that long, right? Even a long pee is longer than this scene. It doesn't make any sense. Just the Dutch rudder scene, maybe I'd understand. But, like, it's long enough that he comes out, he gives an impassioned speech. Lester walks out of her old room anyways, goes to the kitchen. There's a little bit of an explanation of why he's naked, and they get into the Dutch rudder conversation, which if you're not familiar, the Dutch rudder is where you grab your own dick and then somebody else works your arm. Okay, how do we do this? So, and then, like, you work the arm or whatever, and then there's the double Dutch rudder, which he continues on because it's so pertinent to the story about how you work each other's arms. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I could have gone into a lot worse detail about that. But he ends up rather nicely like finishing up talking, because he's very calm the entire time. Oh, you do see Jason Mewes' dong in this, if that's what you were shooting for in life. But he goes back to the room, full ass shot, of course. And then Miri comes out of the bathroom without washing her hands, because I guess she's that excited. And ends up like kissing him and tells him that she loves him back. Oh yeah, that was in the impassioned speech. And good for them. I don't know what happened to the movie still. If that kind of ends it out, or yeah, because it was the whole point of like him coming back was like the story doesn't make any sense, like it did in the first place. Like if a horista and a and whatever coffee house that was, man, but like it would be nice if they actually did get off the ground on top of that. There might have been a prologue or something I missed, but we had to set up for another movie after that over on Rabbit/Camerai. So if you enjoy hearing about this movie, come watch one with us in real life next week. We typically do it Fridays and Saturdays. 9 Bad Movie Club. This one is at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we go right into We Are Movie Club. And we're doing Jersey Girl next week. We're going to finally do Jersey Girl. And we're running out of Kevin Smith movies. So I think it might be Cop Out after that. And then I'm going to be forced to do Red State. And then we can do Tusk and Yoga Hosers. And maybe those last 2 belong here. I don't really believe that. I don't really believe any of these movies. Probably not a single movie that's actually been on here. Other than maybe Wolf Cop. Still can't believe we got like a dick first werewolf transformation out of that. But like I like getting together to talk about Kevin Smith movies. What the fuck was that? That was some kind of bug. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep watching because I wanted to, and I needed the excuse. Hopefully you watch them with us and listen to me talk about movies, or hit us up on the Twitter at We Are Movie Club. But until then, thank you for watching. This is a little bit of Bad Movie Club right here on #WeAreMovieClub. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.